Hey everybody, welcome to Friday Night Live at 4:05. Today we will be discussing discovering your creative purpose. So welcome everybody. I just want to start off by saying congratulations for showing up, you guys. Hey. So glad you guys are here. You just showing up shows that you are committing to discovering your creative purpose. So I'm so excited to see you all. Just to start off, I'm Tori Humphreys. I am a professional life coach. Let me show you some pictures. I am going to show you a picture of my family. So this is my husband and my two kids, #boymom. Love them so much. Honestly, they keep me going, and I may be the only, woman at home, but it's fun. So our apartment's extremely active. Our fridge is always empty. I enjoy a lot of creative practices, singing, writing, acting, those things. And so creativity is super important to me. And it's because I've been drawn to it and for a long time felt that I actually couldn't pursue my creative purpose. So a lot of what we'll be talking about today comes from my own personal journey of discovering my creativity despite, what other people say, what I believed about myself. So if you could grab some pen and paper, that'd be amazing. If you can't, totally understandable. If you're have your kids with you, whatever, totally understand it. We're just going to start off with a little breathing exercise because we're all coming from different spaces. So let me change this real quick. So we're just going to take some time. It's Friday. Hopefully everyone's getting ready for the weekend. So let's just take some time just to decompress, okay? So let's begin by making yourself feel comfortable. If you're sitting in a chair, allow your back to be straight, but not too stiff, with your feet firm on the ground. You can also do this practice standing up or lying on the ground with your head supported. And your hands can be resting gently in your lap or at your side. Allow your eyes to close or remain open with a soft gaze. All right, so let's start by taking several long, deep breaths, breathing in fully and exhaling slowly. In through your nose, out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And just begin to let go of the noises that are around you and shift your attention from outside to inside yourself. If you find yourself distracted by sounds in the room, just simply notice this and bring your focus back onto your breath. So we're going to start off, just focus on your feet. Put your feet flat on the ground if they aren't already, and just observe the sensations in your feet. Maybe wiggle your toes, feel your toes against your socks or shoes, and just notice this without judgment. And when you're ready, just allow your feet to dissolve in your mind and move your attention onto your ankles, calves, and thighs. And just breathe in, breathe out. If your mind begins to wander during this exercise, totally normal. Just bring your mind back to your breath. And then on the next out breath, allow the legs to dissolve in your mind. Move to the sensations in your lower back and your pelvis. softening and releasing as you breathe in and out. Slowly move your attention up to your mid-back and your upper back. And be curious about the sensations that you're feeling. You may become aware of sensations in the muscle, the temperature, or points of contact with the furniture or the floor. And with each out breath, just let go any tension that you're carrying. I'm sure you've had a long week, trying to get ready for the weekend. And as you continue to breathe, just bring your awareness to your chest and heart region and just notice your heartbeat. Observe how the chest rises and during the inhale and how your chest falls during the exhale. Let go of any judgments that might come up. And on the next out breath, just shift the focus to your hands and your fingertips. See if you can channel your breathing in and out of this area as if you're breathing into and out of your hands. And then on the next out breath, shift the focus and bring your awareness up to your arms. Observe the sensations or the lack of sensations that you might feel. As you exhale, you may experience the arms soften and release tensions. Continue to breathe and shift your focus to your neck, shoulder, and throat region. Now, this area, we tend to hold a lot of tension and stress. So if you're feeling tightness or rigidity, just breathe into those areas and breathe out. And on the next out breath, shift your focus and direct your attention to the scalp, head, and face. Observe all of the sensations that are occurring there. Notice the movement of the air as you breathe into or out of the nostrils or mouth. As you exhale, you might notice the softening of any tension you may be holding. And now, let your attention expand out to include the body as a whole. Bring your awareness to the top of your head, all the way down to the bottom of your toes. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath as it moves through the body. And as you come to the end of this practice, take a full deep breath in and breathe out. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And as you become fully alert and awake, just consider setting an intention for this webinar. And an intention is basically planning how you want to show up for something. So for me personally, my intention is just to be patient with myself during this webinar. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and set an intention and pop it in the comments. I'd love to see what intentions you are setting for yourself. Yeah, take your time. If we could have one person, maybe at least one person, comment. Okay, to be teachable. Thanks, Kimmy. That's great. Yeah, so before we start, also, I want you to just rate on a scale of 1 to 10 How satisfied are you with your creativity? 1 being, okay, I'm not at all satisfied with my creativity. 10 being, okay, I am completely satisfied with my creativity. So just think about that, and you can write that down. Okay, now as you reflect on that number, I want you to really think about what this number means. So for instance, if you have a 3 for your creativity, maybe it's, okay, I picking a number 3 because I don't feel comfortable in my creativity. I'm not super confident in it. So really flesh out what that number means to you. And now think of what it might look like if you increase that number by 2. And imagine what this looks like. So if my number was 3, what would a 5 look like for me? Maybe I would feel a little bit more confident and assured in myself and in my creative abilities. So if you feel comfortable, feel free to put what number you've rated your creativity on. Okay, Kimmy has an 8. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we're all going to be at different places with our level of satisfaction for our creativity. And so let's go ahead and get started, you guys, on how to discover your creative purpose. I want to emphasize this because a huge thing about your creative purpose is specifically, uniquely for you. And I honestly think that's probably the most important aspect of this, because it can be tempting to compare our creative purpose to that of other people and to maybe feel less than, depending on what other people are doing. So, okay, awesome. Thank you guys for putting the numbers in. I see a 5 as well too. Okay, yeah. So, all right, let's go on to our next slide. This is the meat and potatoes right here. Okay, so our creative purpose involves our person, our passion, and our purpose. So let me just break this down. So for your person, this is who you are, what's true about you, your essence, who you are regardless of what you do or what others might think about you, or even what you think of yourself. It also includes your characteristics, your gifts, your talents, and your skills. How you show up, how you create and develop, and who you are becoming. Also, what you believe about yourself based upon what you tell yourself, what others have told you, and what society says about you. So how does knowing who you are affect your creative purpose? How you see yourself can drastically affect your confidence in creating. Also, your perceptions on yourself or other people, what you're capable of, can reflect, how you see your creative purpose, and if that's something that you're even willing to pursue because of how you view yourself. The second part of this is your passion, what you love. Now think back to your childhood and in the past. What did you love as a kid? How does creativity fit or not fit into this? Maybe growing up, you weren't allowed to express the creativity that you love now. And how did your family of origin respond to that? And also, in the present, how how has the past affected how you currently view your creative passions? Maybe there is still many things that are affecting your creativity based upon your childhood, things that you've told, and you're still holding on to those things. And also the future. Sometimes if we follow a passion, we may only perceive ourselves in that light rather than seeing the other areas we can pursue as well. This can be very limiting, and we can downplay our ability to create in various ways. So we're not just limited to one passion. We have multiple passions, and thinking about all of the passions that we have. And lastly, your purpose, why you are here. Everyone has a purpose. We're made by God to be here for a particular reason. So what are your values and why? What were you meant to do in your lifetime? Who are you living for and why? What motivates you to keep going? So purpose plays a huge role in developing our creative purpose. If we don't feel motivated or driven for what we're doing, it's going to be really hard for us to be able to develop and discover our creative purpose. And so how do these three align? When you combine your person, who you are, with your passions, what you love, and your purpose, why you're here, you can then discover or even rediscover your creative purpose. So the only thing though, as we keep going, you'll see that there are multiple things that can get in the way of this. Okay, we have our false perceptions, our unrealistic expectations, fear and anxiety, being externally motivated without internal motivation, not being intentional, and dismissing our values and convictions. So starting with our false perceptions, those are false perceptions that can be for ourselves, which include our worth and capabilities. It could also be for others, comparing ourselves, thinking that we are better or worse than others. For unrealistic expectations, that could come from other people. Maybe you have a boss who expects you to create in a way that doesn't match who you are. Or maybe the expectations are coming from ourselves. It would make perfect sense why we wouldn't start or finish a creative project when we expect ourselves to be perfect. Or maybe we do use our creativity, but then heavily criticize ourselves to try and be better next time. And then there's fear and anxiety, fear of the unknown, what's to come, what will happen, what will people think of me? And if you're feeling anxious, maybe it's overwhelming thoughts that prevent us from creating. We find ourselves procrastinating and unable to stay in the present because of our anxious thoughts. And for external motivation, if we don't have internal motivations for creating, maybe it's because we've been doing a type of creativity for a long time and we've gotten away from being motivated. Maybe our motivation now is hearing praise from others, building fame, getting money. But personally, how we used to create isn't the same way it is now. And maybe you feel like you can't truly be your authentic self. Also, not being intentional. Perhaps you're tired and it's easier to keep doing what you've been doing. So you find yourself bored and unmotivated, longing for something different, but you don't have the energy to change it. Or maybe you're super busy and are struggling with making creating a priority because you have so much on your plate already. Or perhaps you can't seem to find the motivation to start. You tell yourself over and over again to do things differently, and you beat yourself up when you don't take action. And the last thing that can get in the way is dismissing our values and convictions. Perhaps you have found yourself creating and aren't sure what your purpose is, or have become totally out of touch with the things that matter most to you. You don't really recognize who you are and why you are creating, or why you would want to create. You have defaulted to doing things that others have asked you to do. So I'm just curious how you may relate to some of the things that get in the way from our creative purpose. So out of these, if you feel comfortable, feel free to put it in the comments section of what you relate with the most. Maybe it's false perceptions of yourself, feeling that you're not good enough. Maybe it's the expectations of others, the pressure that you feel, or fear of starting something completely new, or maybe changing. So feel free to go ahead and put some comments in there if you want to. So next, let me just go ahead. How do we get through this? The next part for actually overcoming these blocks. Oh, starting something new is hard. Okay, thanks, Angela, for saying that. Yeah, and that's totally normal. The fear of starting something new because you don't know what's going to happen. That makes sense. Absolutely. So with actually being able to overcome these blocks that we have, here are 3 things. 1, to examine how things currently are. 2, explaining why they are the way they are. And 3, enhancing as a result. So, Kimmy, I see that you put not saying no often enough to stay on the path. Yes. And that would be just observing. That's number 1, right? We look at our lives currently, how they are, without judgment, and just see. Look at your life, observe if it actually reflects the creative purpose you want it to have, and determine if your person, passions, and purpose align. Yeah, so what are you actually believing about who you are? How do you view others? Maybe you have believed that you were self-sufficient, but your self-sufficiency has prevented you from growing creatively because you don't want to or are afraid to ask for help. How do you contribute to the world? And how do you allow others to contribute to you? What are your passions? Are there areas in which you have limited your passions because of how others might perceive you? Heather, I see my desire to get it right holds me back. Yeah, so just observe. There are plenty of things that can get in the way of our creative purpose. And so just being able to start and really examine what's happening. So after we are done with examining, then we explain. Why is my life like this? Understanding why you believe false truths about yourself. This is important to do before you try and change it. Because if you don't understand the why behind beliefs and thoughts that aren't true, you might find yourself resorting back because you haven't gotten to the root of the issue. And this may be hard to believe, but when we're believing false truths about ourselves, there's something that we may be getting out of it. It might sound weird, but what do I get out of believing, that I'm a failure even before I start? Maybe it's that I feel more comfortable staying where I am rather than taking that next step. So there's a benefit, and we have to, just think about, okay, why am I choosing to believe this? And why do you live by certain rules that it might end up shortchanging you in the long run? Explore your motivations for your creative passions. Is it because you enjoy it, or has that shifted? Also, where did your habits come from? Habits of thinking negatively about your writing, your singing, your directing, your creating. And why do I resort to unhealthy habits when I feel inadequate as an artist? So, 1, we examine how things are. 2, we explain why they are the way they are. And the last step is to enhance. If there are areas you would like to improve your creativity based on what you have observed, then make small steps to change them. Now, before we really get into this part, I want to say this. Take your time, because it can be extremely overwhelming to try and fix all of what comes up. And remember how long you've had habits of putting yourself down, or thinking that you're better than others, or fearing doing this for a long time. So with creating, just take your time observing and really understanding the why. Spend more time in the 1 and the 2 first, especially for things that have been hard for you for a long time, because you don't want to get ahead of yourself and then end up feeling worse when the changes aren't happening. And then, when you feel ready, based on your person, passions, and purpose, think of the smallest step you can take in your creativity that you want to enhance. So, and this is after really just like beginning to uproot things that have been there. So as you notice maybe things that you have believed about yourself or others that are not true, beginning to reframe those things, changing those slowly. What could be one small way to do that in order to, really get to that creative purpose that you're wanting? And then when you're making that small step, holding yourself accountable, asking a friend to help. Also consider you might need to take some things away before you can add something else. So consider that as well. But be reasonable with your goal setting. So I'm just going to go ahead and give an example of how this whole process works. Okay? So say I'm a writer, which I am a writer. And I've been at a company for a long time, but I'm really wanting to start my own business. I've told myself that I don't have what it takes to make it happen. I'm also thinking about how I would support myself financially to start. But I know that if I continue to do this for the next 15, 20 years or so, I would feel like it would be a waste, because I know that it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So the person part of it is seeing how I don't feel like I have what it takes to make a business. The passion part is the writing, which that's consistent. The passion is there. And the purpose part is knowing that if I continue working at this company, it's not going to be fulfilling for me. It's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So the passion is there, but the purpose and the person part of it is not. So they're not aligned. So first I examine how my fear and my anxiety are about finances. My lack of confidence in who I am have kept me from working towards my creative purpose. I also see how I'm dissatisfied with where I am and how it makes me feel. Second, I explain why I am where I am. So in college, I tried to start a writer's group, but no one was interested in it. And I felt like a failure. So I'm trying to prevent feeling like that again. I don't want to put myself out there where I know I could be hurt. Third, once I have gone through that, I reframe. I understand that I can do this. I can make my own business. And I believe that. I change that, shift, reframe that thought. I can take a small step by dedicating time once a week for an hour to consider what it would be like to start my own business. I plan to tell my best friend about it, who can keep me accountable. If it turns out to be too much, I can tell her that, but if I can commit to more time, I will consider it. So that's just an example of how this system works. Let me just go back for those of you who came a little bit later. This is for, here we go. This is how our creative purpose is broken down. Our person plus our passion plus our purpose is how we can get to our creative purpose. Person being who you are, passion being what you love, purpose being why you're here. And so when we work through these, we can really discover what our true creative purpose is. So yeah, and now I'll just have you think back to the creative scale of where you were at. I know some of you said 8, 5, and really consider with the blocks that are there, how can you get to where you want to be? How can you move forward on that creativity scale? And so here are some questions to consider. What does creativity truly mean to you? When did you know you were in your creative purpose and how? What has kept you from discovering or rediscovering your creative purpose? And lastly, what will it cost you to pursue your creative purpose, and are you willing to pay for it? So, so that is what I have for us today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section, and I would be happy to stay on to answer some questions. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you're ready to step into your dreams but need additional help, let's create a plan together to make your dreams a reality. I'm available for one-on-one coaching if that feels like something you'd be interested in. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the comment section, and email me directly. Let me know you're interested in talking further, and I'll follow up with you. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the comment section. Yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. Thanks, Marvel. Okay, yeah, there's my email. Thanks, Ange. Also, I'll say this last thing because I love saying this at the end of my Friday Night Lives. Remember that your worth isn't measured by likes, comments, or Zelle payments. Your value is immeasurable, regardless of what lies ahead of you. So, if there's no questions, well, then I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining. This has been a blast. And also, please reach out. I'd love to know even your own creativity, where you're at. And if you want to just chat about it, I'm definitely available for that too. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and enjoy what's little left of summer. And just enjoy that as well. All right. See you guys. Bye.